Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we are going to be checking out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem Giants. Yes, this is another staple of classic Playmates toys, TMNT lines. I love the Giant Turtles. I'm excited that we're getting new ones. And it looks like to start things off, we've got Giant Leonardo and Giant Raphael. The figures come in these open packages. Really cool stuff. I assume we'll be getting the other two turtles in future assortments, but we're starting off with two heavy hitters. I know this is a lot of people's favorites. I know you all got your own favorite turtles, but Raph is the best. So the back of the packages are actually pretty cool. I love, these giant images of the turtles from the films. You got the scale right here letting you know these are 12-inch figures. I also love their little bios right here. Raph likes to break things. In fact, his biggest goal is to punch someone so hard they throw up. Oh my god. But beneath his hard head and tough exterior is a sensitive turtle just looking for someone to talk to. Aww. And Leo's the leader. Well, he wants to be. He dreams of leading his brothers to become an unstoppable crime-fighting team. So what if no one takes him seriously? Seriously, this is fun stuff. Definitely points to the fact that we're getting another coming-of-age story, all right? The Turtles movies, we always start all the way over again. But these look like a lot of fun. Let's open them up and get a closer look at the toys. All right, we got our new TMNT Giants outside of those boxes. So if we bring in the tape measure here, you can see that they stand right around 12 inches tall. So they are some big figures. For example, like if I bring in your basic action figures of Raph and Leo from the Mutant Mayhem line, you can see just how much these tower over those little action figures. And that's pretty cool because, as I've mentioned, like the Giants have been like a long-standing form factor for the Ninja Turtles line. So I'm actually pretty excited to see just how big and beefy they are. And of course, they even do have kind of different body types from each other, with Raph being the big chunkier of the two. Leo's a little bit more lean, so I like that quite a bit. They are unique sculpts, which is very nice. So let's just go ahead and start there. We'll start by looking at these guys. I will say they do feel nice and solid, but they are also pretty lightweight. And that is definitely because the body here, like the shell specifically, this is all hollowed out in here. So the whole torso section feels hollow. Now the head, the arms, the legs, those feel like solid plastic. But because the whole body portion here is hollowed out, it does make the figures feel lighter. They still feel sturdy, and I think the reason for that is because with kids in mind, this does make it easier for kids to pick them up, bash them around. You don't have to worry about them being too heavy so they can hurt each other. Something really interesting I just noticed here, this must have came out of the box like this, but look at that, there's like a peg bent up on my Raph in a little hole. That is definitely supposed to be in there, so it must have just got assembled wrong. Really weird. Let me see if I can just fix that. I can just fix that. I just kind of slid that back in there. So this is just a separate piece that's plugged into some pegs on the torso. Very interesting. All in all, he looks really good. He's very brightly colored, bright reds, bright green. You can see he does have his Psy accessories, which can be holstered on his belt, which I do like quite a bit there. And of course, he can hold them in his hands. There is definitely some paint deco, like rubs on these figures that I'm noticing. Like, I don't know if this is standing out, but there's a lot of like red rubbed on the inside of Raphael's hands here, which is really interesting. And then I noticed it over here on Leo. You can see his leg is all scuffed up down here. Part of this is going to happen because since these are in those open packages in the stores, like that always runs the risk of them getting scuffed up when they're being put on the shelves or from kids picking them up and carrying them around the stores. So it's just something you kind of want to look out for when you're picking these up from the stores. I totally didn't notice this one until I got it home. So that's a bit unfortunate that my Leo's leg is all scuffed up. But let me just show you guys too. The accessories do have really tight fits in the hands, which is really good. So they can actually hold on to their weapons very well. Leo does have his swords sheathed on his back, so we can pull those out here. And again, nice tight grips on the katana blades as well. So these guys are articulated, and I do want to talk about that specifically now that we've got the weapons in their hands. Because the heads, you can see, ball jointed. those roll all around. That works out really well. The arms can go up and down and outwards because they got the hinge joints there at the shoulders. However, nothing at the elbows there. You can swivel the wrists, which is definitely good for the weapon holding. But I do wish we could bend the elbows so we could get a little bit of some better poses, because with Leo's arms always being stuck outward, that means the swords are just always, you know, it's a little awkward sometimes. Now the legs are on those hinge joints at the thighs. So you can see the legs can split outwards really far. They can move forwards and backwards. This is a bit of a softer plastic on the front of the shell. So you can see it kind of flexes with the legs, doesn't hinder the movement. And then, interestingly, they do have knee articulation where you can swivel and bend at the knee, but nothing at the ankles. So what I kind of wish is that we would have swapped the knee articulation for the elbow articulation. Because since there's nothing at the ankles, it's not like you can find a lot of poses where the knees were going to bend and they'll still stand anyway. I feel like I much would have rather had these be nice solid legs if we were going to go that route, so that they stood up nice and sturdy, and then we can actually bend the elbows for better poses with the weapons. But that is just me. Your mileage may vary. Otherwise, I do think these are pretty sweet looking toys. And like I said, they're big and they're chunky. And I definitely think kids are going to have a lot of fun playing with these. Now, I talked about how these are just like a new iteration of a classic form factor for Ninja Turtles. So we've got to talk about some of those previous versions. It's Giants comparison time, my friends. One of the things specifically is that scale, because we've had Giants with the different lines in the past. Like, for example, they did the big turtles in the 2012 line as well, and this is the Raph right here, but they were around 10 inches tall, so we have an extra 2 inches on these new ones, making them feel much more like Giants, like the Giants that we remember from when us 40-year-olds and 30-year-olds were kids, because the Giant Turtles were a lot bigger. So it's really interesting seeing them standing side by side with one of the more recent Giants. Same can be said for this ugly guy over here. The more recent movies did also get their versions of the Giants, but like the 2012 series, they were done in the 10-inch scale. So these new ones are much more in the scale of those newer 89 Giants. Now, I know I already complained about the 89 date stamp on these, but these are the more modern reissues of the vintage Giants, which were smaller than the actual vintage ones, but you can see they are about the same size as these newer ones. The biggest difference, of course, is that the vintage-inspired versions are a lot chunkier than the Mutant Mayhem ones, but that is more in the style of those figures compared to the style of these new ones, not necessarily that the toys are less chunky, but it's really interesting seeing these side by side. And then, of course, there's the actual vintage TMNT Giants, which just feel quite a bit bigger. Those stand about 13.5 inches tall. So they're about 1.5 inches taller than the Mutant Mayhem Giants, also a bit bulkier. So those are definitely like the true Giants of Ninja Turtles, but these new ones are pretty respectable with their size. So there you go, my friends. There's a look at the brand new Mutant Mayhem Giant Leonardo and Raphael. I really like these. I do. I'm a big fan of this form factor anyway. I like big, giant, chunky action figures. And like I said, this really feels like a TMNT thing, so I'm glad to see the tradition continue. I will say we only have Leo and Raph so far, so I hope Donnie and Mikey are on the way as well, because I want to be able to complete the 4 Giants in my collection. But these are a lot of fun. If you like the bigger figures, if you like the vintage Giants, I really do think that you'll get a big kick out of these. I also think kids are going to love these, because like I said, these are the perfect ones for like bashing around, you know, having some big giant action figure in your little kid hands just bashing around with each other. I mean, come on, nothing beats that. That's awesome. So these are hitting store shelves right now. I purchased mine from Target. So happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.